Hello there, and welcome, YouTubers and bloggers from indeed all over. My name is Lewie Carlo, and welcome to this very first instalment of my movie review channel. I would have done this earlier in the year, but having to get a new camera and facing problems with charger and all that, you know, technology these days, I don't want to go into detail about it, but I'm here now. As it's a rather cold and dismal Monday evening down here in merry old Kent, England, I thought this would be the ideal opportunity to brighten things up and kick things off with a summer blockbuster. So, enjoy. So here is the long-awaited third and final instalment of Christopher Nolan's reimagining of the Batman franchise, The Dark Knight Rises. So before I kick it off, I would just like to say, in the case of, for anybody out there who hasn't seen the film yet and is waiting for the DVD or the Blu-ray, and for the purposes of people who have seen it, in fact, I will try and review this. I will try and give you a brief synopsis. I will try not to give anything away, give any spoilers, although I can't guarantee it, but I will try my best to keep this as minimal and spoiler-free as possible. So let's kick off. So this third and final instalment kicks off 8 years after the Joker's menace was put to rest in the climactic end sequence of The Dark Knight, and 8 years since the passing of Harvey Dent, and 8 years since Bruce Wayne last donned the Batman outfit. Governmental and authority figures are in the process of imposing this thing, the Dent Act, which will hopefully restore balance to the forces and keep down crime in Gotham City. Many governmental figures and Gotham residents on board with the project, others seeming to be a bit sceptical, as will this indeed live up to Harvey Dent's promises? Who knows? Who knows? And of course, whilst around this time, as we would expect in any Batman movie, there's a new baddie in town, and he's seeing things a little differently. And now Gotham City's got a new baddie in town. It can only mean one thing: somebody's got to put a stop to him. But wait, 8 years have gone by, and what happened to Batman? And while all this is going on, Bruce Wayne himself is finding it pretty hard to readjust, not to his own personal life, but to society in general. On the one hand, he's a bit sceptical about donning the suit again, and on the other hand, he feels, you know, something's got to be done, and only time will tell. So that's pretty much that's a brief setup of the story. Now, to get down to business. So, what are the good things that this third and final instalment of the Nolan vehicle has to offer? Well, the primary thing that I really liked about this third and final instalment was the idea of building upon the characters and giving them more attention as opposed to all the big action and explosions and, you know, which you got with previous attempts at the franchise. And in particular, Bruce Wayne, in terms of the kind of the torment, the angst, and indeed all the pressures that he's under in the course of this 165-minute film, which in itself, if it's in the hands of Christopher Nolan, you know you're in good company. Of course, that's not going to be a problem for him. I mean, in the case of your typical Hollywood studio board, or, you know, writers and executives poking the stick at you, say, oh, what, how long's it been now? What's 5 minutes? There's a baddie already creating havoc? Quick, come on, do something about it. Get back into the suit, Brucey. Come on, Batman. But, you know, because you are in the very capable hands of a director who loves the source material and absolutely loves cinema to death, you know, you can, you know, let him have the time he wants. He can do something spectacular with it. Look what happened with Inception. George Lucas, for all your sins in the past, not least of which being the Star Wars prequels, but most of all, the fairly simple transition for Anakin Skywalker's conversion to the dark side in Revenge of the Sith. Here's an idea. Take down some notes. And one of the reasons that this move is made all the more plausible is through a heartwarming soliloquy delivered by Alfred. At one point, Alfred and Bruce Wayne are having a conversation about what's come and what's gone, and what could be possibly there to come. And there is a really touching moment in this conversation where Alfred tells Bruce Wayne that in a way he wishes and hoped that he wouldn't come back, and it's a line that is just delivered like a Shakespearean text. Christopher, Jonathan, salute you. And of course, not just Brucey and Alfred, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, for example, not just playing this young, enthusiastic and ambitious young cop, but also the kind of the metaphorical as opposed to metaphysical sort of character arc of a protagonist from previous franchises. And I'm not saying who. I don't want to give that away. He gives it his all, and he is terrific. But perhaps one of the biggest surprises of the film was that of Anne Hathaway, who in the past has given us many kind of, light-hearted sort of comedy roles, alongside a couple of real stiffs as well, that being Havoc, which was absolutely dreadful, and of course Bride Wars, which probably one of the worst films, if not the worst film of 2009. That's a very risky move. Can she really do anything with this role? Well, turns out, yes, she can. She absolutely blew us away. Perhaps her best performance to date. I suppose in a way as the kind of the femme fatale of the movie. That not giving too much away. Incredibly sort of seductive, secretive, and hard to come by at times. And then, on the other hand, who can go into just screaming hysterics? It's a real turnaround for Anne Hathaway. And then, of course, we have Tom Hardy as the all gruff and mighty and evil Bane. Perhaps, I suppose, one of the downsides of this movie would be that on the part of Bane. Not really on his performance, because he does do a terrific bad guy in this. The loss of dark humour, that, say, the Scarecrow, and then of course, and the Joker, obviously had the kind of the cheeky, dark sort of one-liners. There's very much less of that. Audiences and some critics have said that the voice is problematic. That at times you can't really understand what he's saying. Personally, I didn't find that to be a problem. In actual fact, people just say that there's a kind of downside to his voice. I would say there's also a kind of a comedic upside as well, for this very reason. I would hope he would take this as a compliment, as it is meant to be. All praise to Tom Hardy, because anybody who can impersonate Brian Blessed speaking softly into an empty baked bean tin, he deserves praise. He certainly gets it in my book. Exemple?
Well, it would appear that you and I are probably not so different, Mr. Wayne, after all. Might I suggest we take this to the streets, perhaps? All Gotham! Oh, Gotham, hear these words! Commissioner Gordon's alive!
Too much? I do apologise for that. Although I will say at this point, part of me was kind of hoping, sort of the guilty side of me was hoping, go on, say that line. But, I'm glad it didn't happen, because that would have spoilt it. So, as much as I wanted it to happen, it didn't, and for that, I'm grateful. To penultimately sort of top it all off, you have the magnificent action set pieces, a perfect alignment of CGI and, of course, handmade special effects. So kind of, on a whole, you've really got to just admire the craftsmanship that's gone into the making of this film. All that, of course, which is helped by the fantastic and wonderful, almost gritty and dark photography of Wally Pfister. Funny to think that a man who started out shooting, straight-to-video erotic thrillers for Greg Dart back in the day is now lighting and filming some of the biggest movies around the world. And then, of course, it saddens me to say that this will indeed be his last contribution with Christopher Nolan. Moving on from being a DP to a director. It could be next year, it could be the year after. And to that I say, Wally, you deserve everything that's coming to you. You go for it, son. And so, with all that in mind, my verdict, I thoroughly enjoyed The Dark Knight Rises. A film that's not only just one particular genre in itself, but I would say a mixture of three. The film noir aspect, the psychological thriller aspect, and of course, the big action blockbuster. All these three conglomerates just rolled into just one solid, big, enjoyable, and interesting, above all, blockbuster of a movie. And is once again proof that just because you're spending so much money on a film and are looking to appeal to the widest possible audience doesn't mean that you have to dumb down at any point. You know, since Inception came along and proved people like Michael Bay wrong, that you don't have to be big and stupid, that you can actually be big and smart, that's what we should be demanding as a paying audience from now on. And it would be good to see that continue, especially with new wave auteurs like Christopher Nolan. Big, dumb, stupid blockbuster releases, there really is no excuse for them now. So there you go, that's my review of The Dark Knight Rises. I really enjoyed it. I'll be looking forward to the triple Blu-ray when it comes out. And that concludes this very first video instalment for the channel. Have you been to the Pix recently? Are there any films that you'd like us to do a review on? Did you like The Dark Knight Rises? Didn't you like The Dark Knight Rises? Either way, chuck us a comment below and let us know. In the meantime, I will leave you be. I've been Lewie Carlo. Sayonara. I'll see you again soon. Excelsior!
Production.